Welcome back, everybody. It's the Aces AFL show. Can you believe it? It's round 6. The boys promised the world they'll start to just crush teams in round 6. We've got enough, of a synopsis of these teams' performances, and there's a few that have not delivered. But great to see you, boys. Wal, fresh off China,
Where'd you
fresh
go?
off Xi Jinping, I see on the run sheet. Is that right how you say it?
No, I was not there, but that is in China. Oh, it was a great trip.
Shenzhen. Were you in Shenzhen?
I was in Hangzhou and
nice.
Shanghai.
Shanghai.
Yeah.
Beautiful. How was it?
Oh, look, lovely part of the world. And I must admit, I went in there with expectations of what it could be like, and I was blown away. Like the infrastructure in those cities, especially in the greenery, they're miles ahead of Australia, unfortunately.
Give me one example why.
So when they're planting trees, they're planting fully grown trees, and we're planting the baby ones, and they're probably 98% electric vehicles, maybe even 99%. So it's quiet. There's no pollution, and there was that theory that it's quite musky in the air and there's a bit of a fog, but I must admit it was pure. And I enjoyed it. The food was delicious. The people were really nice. And I really enjoyed the international business element of it all.
Oh, yeah.
Did you enjoy your business class flight as well?
Unfortunately, no, Daisy.
You sat at the back of the bus.
I sat into cattle class, which is against the grain.
Against the grain. That's against everything you stand for, not just the grain.
Did you have the rollie on while you're sitting down there?
That. No, I had the Casio. I had to pull it out. I had to brush the dust off it. But no, we didn't. But we were staying in quite nice places. So look, we're very naive in this exporting-importing game. So I took the liberty of going to the back end of the plane. But I must admit, it's the first and last time we'll be doing that.
Yeah, roughly. So the back of the plane is for hour or less trips. We don't go international.
No, especially at midnight when I'm trying to get some Zeds.
Well, it's good to have you back in the studio while we've missed you. Daisy, great to see you again, mate. It's probably been a big week for you considering gather round, the travel and the Masters as well, and then straight into another week of footy. How are you?
Doesn't stop. No, I'm really good. Thank you, Train. What a weekend it was, and congratulations, Mitchie. We do have to say a big well done to Tommy.
Don't thank me, boys. Thank everyone.
Well, everybody.
You're
but
modest, man.
You are a modest man.
It's
It's
a big
like
weekend.
like Wal saying he was happy to go to the back of the bus. Oh, yeah, thank everyone. You want the plaudits, mate.
Yeah,
you
do it
deserve
again,
it.
actually.
It was
Yeah.
fantastic. The day you put on at the Cumby, the Friday night, the Saturday was unbelievable. I obviously didn't get to see the Friday night as I was at the game, but the Saturday was incredible. The races were on. The guests were unbelievable. The crowd, the PointsBet crew, it was just absolutely magnificent. The Rick's after party as well. So really well done to you, mate.
Thanks, mate. I really appreciate it. It was a big team effort, and I think a massive shout out to everyone that rocked up as well. The place was pumping, so it makes it much more enjoyable when there's a full crowd, and obviously we had great talent. Everyone had a crack, and like I must say, all the boys that rolled in, they all had a great story to tell, and they brought their best energy. So yeah, we'll definitely do a few more of those moving forward. I think we need to do one in Melbourne. There's been a fair few DMs. We haven't really done much in Melbourne, so I reckon that's our next task, boys, when it's
You've
the middle of the year.
Bar pretty high, so that's it from now on. The Aces shows and the get-togethers, the parties, they'll become the biggest parties in town. I'm sensing like a September Club, maybe a little side corner over there.
Putting the pressure on me, I'll tell you what. And we'll be putting the pressure on a few teams as we break down some of these.
How are you though? How did you get through?
I'm a bit tired. I'm not going to lie to you. The energy will be high today, though. I know people are listening going, Train, don't give us stuff. How you feeling? It's about the action. But I must say, I need to go for a couple more trots because I'm under the weather a little bit.
Well, but if you're talking about the whole weekend as a whole, obviously I wasn't there, and unfortunately I was so jealous of you boys enjoying it. But the town itself just comes alive, doesn't it?
It felt like Super Bowl. I've been to one Super Bowl. It was in Las Vegas, and the way you walk down the strip and people are...
You're comparing it.
No, I'm just saying that. No, but listen to me.
Oh, boy.
Hear me out. No, well, it's similar traffic, mate, because, I think it was 60,000 at the Super Bowl at the game. But just as you're walking around, all the fans have got all their team colours on, and everyone's there for the same reason. Everyone's up and about. Everyone's having a drink. All the kids that are around are, doing the kids stuff. They've got all these activations on the streets. It was unbelievable. And I reckon, huge hat off to Adelaide because they do it so well.
Though, when you go to one of those events and you're there for 3, 4, 5 days, you don't want to get first night fever because it ruins the entire trip. By the time I was on the text to you on Friday and the responses weren't coming till after midday.
Oh, yeah, that was tough.
Every person I saw that you associated with was slightly worse for wear.
First night fever, it's a thing. It's a thing.
Did you have a swing?
Oh, mate, I hadn't had a drink for 5 weeks properly. I was with our man Cam Rufford till about halftime, then just he's just running into every man and his dog. And then we went back to the Cumby and, mate, it was
just a
first
fun night.
fever job. Yeah, hit Friday as low as you could on batteries, but just fake it till you make it on the stage type of setup. Oh, here we go. The Dogs anthem just popped up. I'm a bit rusty. Well, let's get through it, boys. The good was very good. Let's start with positive. We love the positive news, but the teams that are flying, Cats, Pies, the Giants, and I guess the fight from Port. I reckon they, a lot of people tipped Hawks and easily. Their fight and the way they, kind of stuck it up the Hawks in the first half was very impressive. In fact, it puts them back, on the map a little bit. What was your takeaways from that game?
Need to see it again. You need to see it repeatedly. You don't want to just have and be known as a football side that responds when the shit has literally hit the fan. And look, I was bullish on Port going into this year. I thought they'd underachieved so far. The one thing I love, and the result's fantastic, the response, but as a coach, if you can get that response from your playing group, that means they genuinely like you. They are all invested in what you've got to say and they care, which is a pretty big thing in football. If you've got a group that believes everything you say, and they obviously love Kenny, they've always spoken about it. I thought it was a real nice, we're not meant to be doing that because everyone's getting a fine. But I thought from a Kenny Hinckley point of view, to anyone that's sort of been knocking what he's been doing, I thought it was a really good message. Regardless of the result, they get the result, and that's even better.
There's a funny tweet. Someone said Ken should have retired right there and then said, I'm off, because he'd obviously done at the end of the year. They would have all been going, well, maybe he's still got it.
He didn't walk around the ground and give the fans any acknowledgement.
Just straight on.
He was just head down, and everyone wanted to be cheering him because they booed him at times. So I think he was certainly keeping the receipts. Here we go.
And I agree with you. And we're talking about Port a fair bit on this show for the first 6 rounds, but they've been up and down and up and down. A little bit yo-yo-like, and I think the emotions were so high, there was so much at stake, and like Daisy said, they performed because that was what was in front of them. So
and coaching clinic, Rosie to half back.
Yeah,
I think Sam Mitchell even said in the pre-game, we've heard a rumour he might go to half back. Well, I don't think they knew how good he would be at half back. He really set the game up from there,
and a couple of goals too.
Couple of goals.
Yep.
I think he had 28 disposals, and you let your mids get to work like Butters, Wines, and then they've obviously got that negating tagger role there as well, which let's talk about. The tag is back, isn't it? Like, I feel like you need to have one in your midfield. Do you agree?
Taggers ruin the game. Simple as that.
Do you think you need one though? I'll give you a take.
No, you know what?
Goes out. Newcomb's their best mid. You take Newcomb out of the game, all of a sudden you win the midfield battle.
Mate, I've been a tagger before, and I must say I hated it for 2 years. But what it taught me for the rest of my career was, I pay my respects to Brendan McCartney for putting me through that. But I reckon there is. I reckon there's definitely a need for a tagger. You talk through any of the best midfields in the competition, they're stars. And if you can halve or even 3/4 their output, you're going to go a long way to giving your team a chance to win. So you come to a big final, whether it's a contested game, you need to shut down the prize mid or a half back or a half forward. I reckon there is definitely a spot in a side, and you can't just turn it on. You've got to develop this player over a period of time and a body of work of tagging, because you're not going to get the same type of player every week, whether it's a fast player or a player that works well in the contested situations. You need to train this player to be able to cope with different types of players. So that can't be turned on in a final series. It has to be learned over a period of time. And I reckon if I was a coach, I'd be starting to fine-tune one as we speak.
I like the idea of a tagger as long as they've got some sort of offensive mindset.
Great call.
You have to be involved in your team's offense. If you just go and you shit to a blanket and you do not move all day, and when you win the ball back, the same thing, because then as a player who's being tagged, you just run your own show. You step out of stoppage, you go to a wing, you do whatever you want, and you can easily manipulate.
You can create chaos.
Yeah, that's it. So if you're a somewhat, I might roll the dice here, turnover, and your bloke kicked a goal, or he's getting involved in the play, the message starts to come out. You go, hey, tighten up a little bit. So I like the idea of it. It's obviously a really hard thing to then go and find a player who can be the blanket, then go forward. But I think in that regard, hard tags I'm not 100% for.
And that's where you talk about fine-tuning it. Well, team structure, team defense, that is the priority. So in centre bounce, you don't tag because it just pulls you straight apart, And if you're talking about a player that steps out of stoppage, you need to be able to manipulate the structures to cater for that. So it is a challenge, but that's why the best tags in the game have that offensive flair when it's their turn to go, but can have the influence of the better players.
Footy in the southeast of Queensland is flying. Lions, Suns, undefeated. They will meet in round 8. The Q clash.
First.
All of a sudden, all of a sudden the Q clash is looking unbelievable. And PointsBet have a little market out there at $3.70 for both teams to be undefeated when they meet. Brisbane have Collingwood Thursday night, which is, I think that's a tough game. They get through that one. That's really the money. Then they have St Kilda. And then I guess the Suns, they have Richmond into Sydney. And you'd think they'd get the chocolates there. So not a bad market at $3.70 from our friends at PointsBet, but probably not as juicy as our man Daisy, who did say that the Suns would be undefeated after round 6 and would be leading the table. Obviously, they'd be a draw right now if they didn't have that bye. But I think our friends at PointsBet are going to honour those bets.
There you go. So it was just good foresight, wasn't it? Seeing the future, which is something, an innate ability I have to do. So look, well done to me. I'll take all the credit for it.
As seen in the Profit Propeller.
Nah, look, yeah.
Oh, we have to mention that. Well, I was trying to hide that on the run sheet. 0-4 we went. At least our boy AK from Sunshine Footy Club won't be too upset because he had Kerno for 5 or 4 and he only kicked 2, so we're all out.
Yeah, he's been in China and just the swipe straight away.
I have to, mate. I've been amongst it.
The only time you got a leg this year was when I didn't.
Yeah,
but it cost us.
I'm hanging my hat on that, mate.
Have you got a leg yet, Wall?
Just like
you got one in the
one.
I got one.
Took Miller.
got one
Well, you know what
last week
Tuke's
as
playing to kick a goal this week? $1.30.
That's
how far he's on. So my foresight.
It's getting harder and harder, the markets, just quietly. We'll get to them later, but trying to find $2 for one. People are confused by the Propeller as well. They always go, why don't you do this and this?
Yeah,
Listen,
why don't
guys.
you take $1.10?
You need $2, one market. That's all we have. In the terms and conditions, we have to find one bet that's $2. And if you look at that, it's like 30 disposals for a player that's had it once this year, or it's a player to kick 2 that hasn't really kicked 2 all year. Or if they've kicked 2, they're about $1.90 for 3. It's really hard to find $2. So if you're out there, just wanted to remind you that we need to find $2 each. And that's what the terms and conditions are. That's what makes this Propeller so hard.
The Propeller, the people love the Propeller. The amount of people in gather around are walking through, who do you like this week? What have you done? Oh, no, when are you doing your punishment? The people are invested. The community of the show is massive.
Speaking of investment, Daisy just with full integrity walked down the middle of Rundle Mall. It was amazing. Just talk us through that quickly because we're flying through gather round, but it was an incredible effort. Full kit, boots on, and the fans love Daisy. You forget how much of a superstar this bloke was. I'll tell you what, he would have had about 50 to 100 photos. I'm not lying.
It was a fair stitch up, to be honest, because I was told I'll organise the shorts and the socks and you boys had organised the jumper. We know what the jumper had to do? We went to the AFL shop in Rundle Mall and then to Rebel Sport in Rundle Mall the day of at 10:30. Do you know how many people were in that mall? Well, there was a shit ton. And they were all footy heads. They were all nufties ready to just follow the footy. Collingwood.
It's about the journey.
Sold out of Collingwood jerseys at the first store.
And I'm walking in and sort of people doing see, even the young lady at Rebel who served us, she's like, I thought you'd already have one of these. You got a membership?
Hey, well, you'll love this. She goes, Daisy, have you got a membership? He goes, nah, I don't. I've only got a life membership.
Still didn't get me a discount.
Full tote for Daisy. And then asked for a photo.
To which I asked her for a membership. But no, it was good. Well, I paid my fine. Really. I was certainly bleeding for our boys out there at Narry Warren. So again, apologies to you, but the fines have all been paid and onwards and upwards.
Yeah, and we'll get to the Propeller later, but I can see a brand new.
That's great though. You got to acknowledge that because it takes a bit to do that, and you lived up to the expectations.
Would you prefer gather around Rundle Mall footy fans or Coles or Safeway or whatever you call it? These Woolworths. Safeway, it's called Woolworths now.
These Woolworths.
Standing there in with no context and you're full kit with boots on, handing out flyers. What do you think's worse?
Look, the mall one, the gather round one ended up being okay because it was received really well. I think it's confusion if you stand out front of Woolies, but you never know. Probably not going to do as many photos or selfies and probably a bit more explanation, but hopefully I don't find myself in that point again. However, I am going to Thursday night footy again this week.
No, you're not. Oh, boy, we've banned you on that. You obviously must enjoy these punishments. We'll find out who it is again. Apologies to Sunshine Football Club, 0 from 4. We're going to get one.
They're responsible for their own shit tipping too.
Okay, that's all right. He forgives us already. Okay, let's get to the bad while we're going through gather round and what's come out of it. But there's some bad teams at the moment. Can they turn it around? Clearly, West Coast is struggling a little bit.
West Coast win this week.
We'll talk about that in a second when we get to this week's games, Days. But all my energy right now is It's almost about North Melbourne, but I'm going to steer clear of North Melbourne. I'm going to give them one more week on the run sheet. Oh, we can come down on them next week. I want to see one more game because I thought they scrapped till the middle of the third. Let's see if they give them one more week. But Melbourne Football Club at 0-5, there's starting to be a lot of talk around just, I guess, the infrastructure of the club. There's no real leaders in their roles. There's I guess 0-5. You're starting to look at what do you do with the list? Who are the young players coming through? The talk of the town is they can't score. I just thought, let's open it up. I want to hear your thoughts.
It's interesting. I've heard a comment from Chris Fagan that he asked the team at halftime, stand up if you think you're playing well. And there was one player. And that's honest, that's upfront, that's feedback. I wonder if we looked at Melbourne's list and we said, stand up if you're playing above average or you're playing well, how many would stand up?
Not many. If you want to look at it half full, there's plenty of upside.
Yes.
The scoring, and I think they're performing well under par, and we know that, and the scoring's been an issue for a little bit of time now. There's frustration from me as to what they haven't changed and they continue just to accept, but their numbers aren't horrific. No. The only side they've lost the inside 50 count to this year was the Gold Coast Suns. So they were against the Giants, they lose by 3 points, they were +4. They win that game round one against the Giants where Lockie Keefe goes forward and kicks the goal pretty much on the bell. The complete mindset of them going forward, I believe, changes. They then come out, they get smacked by North Melbourne after three-quarter time. They were still +3 in inside 50s, go down to the Suns, an absolute smacking, -15. They were one more inside 50 against the Cats down at GMHBA, and then they were +8 against Essendon on the weekend. The issue, obviously, is the goals 11, 9, 8, 6 and 8. But the quarter they put together, the third quarter, I don't like the fact that that was the selling point to the members. You just need to tell them straight, we are going like bastards. We need to find a way to get better. But if they can find that footy, the competitiveness and the finish, they're going to be in games and they will be better than what they're serving up at the minute. They're not playing finals. I'll happily put that right out there. Melbourne fans, you can go and book your holidays after you go to the ski season here. You can go and find yourself a nice, or, get the back end of the European summer after you've been to the snow. But they can play better football and they will win games coming in. They're not going to be zipping 5 for long.
So where does it start? And I go,
I'll start with because look at these numbers are it's concerning. You're talking about AFL football. The last 4 weeks, you've got some weapons up there as well. 57 points, 46, 62 and 66. They are so low. You can't win a game of football in at the moment with that scoring ability. You can't win. Like it's more offense now. Isn't it? It's like you said it a few weeks ago. It's all about the turnover. It's not even about contested ball. It's about turnover and who can score. And when you see those numbers, it's not like that's been just this year. I reckon that's been the last 2 or 3.
Yeah. But you mentioned the inside 50 count too. The fact that they're not getting blown out of the water. So they've got possession.
Well,
they've got
the ball's
ball
going in there. Why aren't they scoring? It's probably like, I don't know. I'd love to see. I think Pickett was playing a little bit more on ball. Get him back in the forward line.
Yeah. I think the option that they have and they haven't explored just yet is Jack Viney. So he's a bloody good player. He's hard. He wins the hard ball. But as we said, the contested possession at the minute isn't about that if you've got no one to give it to. I'd put him to half forward and see if you could turn him into a Ben Keys. Put him on the best opposition rebounder, and he's smart enough. He's played enough footy to know when to go forward. He can lock somebody down and then just spread. And that's one person you're going to have. You're getting enough inside forward 50s. That's a free player, essentially inside forward 50 as the Keezer does it, that you've got an option. And then the rest of the defence has to scramble. They need to move the magnets a bit more because the midfield is so predictable. You go in there, you've got Oliver, you've got Petrarca, and you've got Viney. There's a whole lot of shifting. So start to move some magnets, give your forwards a different look. Petty going forward, again, is that the answer? Probably not. Leave him in the back line to shore it up. Find something different ahead of the ball.
Yeah, and if you tell Viney, treat the forward 50 like a centre square or treat it like the centre circle. Imagine that intensity around the contested situations.
Imagine
something will happen.
Belting
he's a leader as well. Obviously, there's a lot of structures that people don't understand.
But he's smart. He's a smart footballer, so he'll be able to find space. And again, it might just be the difference between one of the defenders that's doing a really good job on a Van Rooyen or whoever else is up there in Fritsch. They then get caught between, or do I press out? Which is the questions that opposition ask of them going forward. Just tinkering with it, because if you accept this, You can have all the inside 50s if you want. If you're only kicking 8, 6, 8, 9, 11 goals, you won't win many matches.
Fritsch is a big one for mine. Like, I think he still had enough shots on goal and a lot have faded or not made the distance or he's missed.
Been a little bit down.
He's been a bit down, but I think
Put him on the wing. Put him to halfback.
He's a
beautiful
good wing.
kick.
He can run and he can mark and he can kick. You're right. You need to move the magnets, I reckon.
But if you
Put Salem to half forward. Like, just change. Just
change it.
You know, you see when Zach Williams, unbelievable halfback flanker, out of form, put him forward, starts to kick goals. Because you do things differently. You're not worried about, I've got to kick it. It's new and it's
There's
fun.
No pressure on you.
That's
like,
it.
We don't know what we're going to get. Just have a crack.
Correct. Bradley Fritsch has 6 touches in the first quarter and slices and dices a couple through the middle because he's a great kick.
Yeah, confidence.
Mate, his little the hair would go up, the chest would go out, and you'd be looking like bloody $1 million.
Jimmy Neutron.
No, that's
the high hair.
He has a thick crop of hair. I like his salad. Everyone gets into him. It's a slick salad. Well, look, I'm looking at this week. They got Fremantle. It's not going to get any easier at the G there on the Saturday afternoon at 1:20. Yeah, that's going to be a tough game.
If you're going to get Fremantle any time, though, you'd want them at the MCG. Yep.
They go all right. The Dockers go all right at the G against the Ds.
They've even got Richmond and West Coast. If you can find a win, and I grant you it's going to be tough and it has to be different because if they roll out the same pus that they've rolled out the last few weeks, they're going to get beaten. If they do change it up, I give them a chance and they can get the ball rolling. And at least they beat Freo, then they should definitely beat Richmond and West Coast.
Isn't it funny though? We're talking about bailing out and just getting a free kick and a tune-up game. Like we look at Richmond and West Coast now as, we've just got to get to them because we'll get wins. Like it's so unfortunate, but depending on the timing of when you come up against these clubs, now Melbourne haven't got them till round 6, so that's their biggest challenge.
Yeah.
But if you shift the fixture around and you play those bottom sides.
Carlton got it last week, and geez, did they need it? It was a sloppy 70-point win. Like I got Carlton fans that were at the pub with us going, we left because it was so sloppy and hard to watch, and they won by 70.
Yeah, so it's just an interesting, and you talk about Days, and we've spoken a hell of a lot about the Gold Coast, but their fixture has been very friendly. It's been very friendly. So,
and then the confidence comes on the back of that, and all of a sudden you roll.
Well, we better talk about the games coming up and talk about friendly schedules. It's like Adelaide; they have 2 tough games coming up. They've gone from being 3-0 to potentially 3-4, or let's see where they go. Couple more things, but the Blues they bounce back, like we just said. Brody Kemp, Achilles injury, that's a bad loss. He's had a great start to the year and, heart goes out to anyone that gets injured. And Harry Mackay with concussion, he misses a week with the concussion protocol, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
So they're up against it. And then they play North Melbourne this week. So let's just get straight into this week's footy games, boys. It's Easter weekend. We're not going to go through all the games, but I will probably go through majority here on the run sheet. Yep. And while you're going to kick us off with Thursday night, it's your must watch. It's the Lions hosting the Pies.
This is a must watch, and we talk about the Lions being the comeback kings. They come back from 39 points down. They've done it, I think it was 5 weeks in a row that they've come back. So, look, you had Lockie Neal and McLugledge were huge in the second half. The Ashcroft brothers, and I reckon Archie had his best game for the year as well. And then
that sausage on the boundary line.
It was very nice. Gave the crowd a bit too.
He's so underrated. Is he one of the most underrated players in the competition?
Yeah. But he probably didn't set the world on fire to start the year, but really come into his own, especially on the weekend. And then Eric Hipwood, it was a one-man show in that forward line in that
Didn't
last
have a touch at half-time or something.
It needed to be a one-man show because it was a no-man show to start. It was just a no-show.
What would you rather, have the no-show and then 5 or have a consistent game and kick 3?
5 in a comeback and be the king.
Be the king of the comeback.
Just kick 10.
Influence. But at what point do they sort of, start to worry about their starts? I think they've just got some really experienced, heavier bodies that can stay the test of time, and that's probably where they exposed the Bulldogs late in that second half. Is they didn't have that endurance experience. They were able to run over the top of them. And then Collingwood, look, great game. They're 4 on the trot now. I think a really important stat from last week. It was 11-1 contested marks against the Swans. So they controlled the air, and whether they can control the air this week, they'll go a long way to winning the game. You got Nick Dacos who ran away from a tag. That's great for the AFL, great for Collingwood. And then Ned Long, who was my 3 votes on the weekend.
Really impressive, yeah.
So some real depth there.
He's a monster as well.
With Goey coming back, that's a really good compliment. If they can go, trade and go 50-50.
Goey could potentially just play forward.
Oh, it's another weapon that they need. But I think, with still Sidebottom, I think you touched on it the other night, Daisy. He's in nearly career best. I think it's influence, whether it's form or whatever it is, but he's influencing games better than he has ever. And if they win this game, if they beat Brisbane on top of the tree, I reckon people are going to seriously consider them as in the top couple for the flag.
I reckon Daisy will keep all the receipts
He
as well
will,
after
he
last
will. He
night's
had a
Channel
go.
7 clip went out and he
I'm
said they
giving
can
you a
win
bit
the
of
flag.
advantage.
They're a better side. I said this last. They're a better side this year than what they were when they won it.
Yep.
Just from the inclusion they brought in. Houston off halfback. If McStay's fit and firing by the time, Perryman as well. Membry, you've got the evolution of some of your actual players, the Ruckman, Darcy Cameron.
And then you got Steele Sidebottom and Pendles playing like they're
taking
24.
the genuine piss. Yeah, they're flying. So, and they've still got Maynard and IQ that haven't really played that well this year.
Yeah. So look, massive game. Two great teams up the top end of the ladder. Look, I'm just at the Gabba and the way that Brisbane are shaping up. I think they're still going to get the chocolates. I'm going against Collingwood here, but I think it'll be a close one. But the fallout from this will give us a real clear indication of whether Collingwood are real contenders and where Brisbane are just going to be favourites.
I think the Pies win it, but I'm not sort of looking that deep into the result.
I am. I'm excited.
I'm a hold on these results. You just got to be banking wins, looking like you're improving each week.
Oh yeah, I'm going to back the home team, and I expect a bit of attention to go to Dacos. I wonder if Josh Dunkley goes to him because
Someone's got to go to.
It's a different matchup, isn't it? It's going to be that midfield battle is going to be very interesting.
Zorko has to be stopped.
Yeah,
the footy he's playing north of 35 is incredible.
I think he's averaging nearly around
coaches
700 metres.
Go to them at the start of the year, just tactically to go later in the year, we'll pick this guy. Do you know what I mean? Let's just see what they've got this week. We're going to play them later in the year. Do you think there's a little bit of that?
Maybe not this early on in the year. Maybe coming into finals if you already know you're going to be in the game, like you're locked in and you don't need to win. I don't think you'd show all your cards then, but at the minute, I think you've got to try things at least for a half.
Yeah. Well said.
Good question, though.
Banking wins, they're about banking wins.
Well, our friends at StatMate, they're your best mate when you are building your multi. They have two, and they have been on fire. Right. Charlie Cameron has not missed, the last 10 weeks. He's on a goal streak at the Gabba. He's got 19 in total. And then Brody Mahajcek, he kicked a goal in all of his last 5 matches at the Gabba.
I love how you say his name.
Mahajcek.
How do you say it?
You just condense it. Mahajcek.
Mahajcek. Brian. Well, you'd be saying that if you kicked a couple and you're a Pies fan, but they're the two, Charlie Cameron and Brody Mahajcek. They are the ones, so make sure you download the StatMate app right there. It's your best mate when building a multi, and then download the PointsBet app at the same time if you haven't already. Well, let's get through a few more games. We can't skip over this one. I don't think it's anyone's must-watch, but it is a must-watch for the North Melbourne Football Club because they've probably been a little bit underwhelming, and they go up against Carlton, who has two big key forwards out. Yes. And I reckon their defenders can look after Charlie if they double team him all games. So, Daisy, can you kick us off? Is it time for North to do something on this Good Friday stage?
They have to be more than competitive. This should be, for both sides, a game they're expecting, obviously, to win and giving themselves a real chance for. If it's any more than a 3-goal loss to North Melbourne, I'll be very disappointed. This is the time now where they need to. The improvement isn't going to be for 3 quarters. That should have come already, and we saw that a little bit on the weekend. But if you get yourself into the arm wrestle North Melbourne, like they did against Melbourne, and I was doing that game and I thought there might have been a comeback coming and they may have just let it slip to Melbourne. They were foot on throat. That should be the normal. They need to find a way to do that for longer. And I'm nervous. I'll be tipping the Blues, but I am nervous.
The bookies have given them 17.5, so they're saying it's a 3-goal head start. So they're right inside that, the bookies. I still think they need to be even more competitive. I think this needs to be a kick or two. As a North Melbourne fan, you just want to see them rock up and turn it on. And they don't have many injuries at the moment. Their list is stacked. I think they are primed.
Stack's a big call.
For what they've got, that's their best team on the park.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just saying that's when you lose a couple of key players, all of a sudden you're like, well, we're going to pick a couple.
Best 22
that's their best 22 out there. So we should be seeing. I kind of expect this to be, closer than the bookies have it. I think North need to make a start. Look, the way I'm tipping at the moment, it doesn't matter. I can't pick. I might as well. I'm that far down there, but it's just I want to see North get going, and it's hard to see.
If they get smacked again, do we need to change the narrative? Because they've been getting off pretty lightly. I've been a little bit the same. Clarko hasn't had enough time with them. But how much time is enough time?
Oh, you'd love to see, I know they cuddle them these days, but at some point you've got to explode in the sheds and start going, enough's enough. Let's crack the whip. You know, if it means you got to drop a couple, do something. But it's at that point where, you know, the season it will get away from them if they don't start playing well. And they have the ability to really rock up every week and give teams a bit of a shake.
And I'm going to talk a little bit, I'll focus a little bit more on Carlton. Now, I know we said it was a convincing win. It was 10 goals in the end, but they didn't play the way they wanted to. But you talk about some individuals, about them wanting to burst through and actually play the way they need to play. And we talk about some of the midfielders, Hewitt, Walsh, Chera. They finally had some big games. And the Monkeys off the back a little bit, and a lot of them hit the scoreboard. I think Walsh kicked 3, which is great for his confidence.
Enormous game.
I think it just lifts the lid a little bit. The pressure was cooking for them to get the win. I reckon they'll play with a renewed freedom, albeit without their 2 keys down forward, or 2 of their 3 keys. I think they'll play a new brand. I think Cripps, again, as skipper, he's been carrying a lot of weight for the first 5 rounds. I think he'll just have this renewed vigour to play, enjoy the footy again. I reckon they'll win. I reckon Carlton will get it done. I reckon they'll get it done quite comfortably too.
Luke Parker, hard tag on Cripps.
There you go.
I reckon Cripps will sit in the goal square. I liked that last week.
Right.
Goals.
I reckon without those 2 keys that are out,
option,
well, it's a hard matchup.
Or Hewitt as well, one of the bigger bodies.
You think Hewitt goes to their best, Chera comes in, Walsh would be their main man, and you Cripps is in and out, mid, and then rest forward. But I like that Parker
market if you.
Yeah. Well, if you've got the disposals at the moment, he's not getting near the 30s. He's like your low 20s and kicks a couple at the moment. Yeah. But that was West Coast last week.
And training both teams, they've both failed in last quarters. Like whether it's fitness, concentration.
Yeah, it's a good
game
point.
Over the course of the first 5 or 6 rounds. So which team starts better and has a lead, going into the 3/4 time or going into the early parts of the last, that'll go a long way for that team maintaining control, because these guys both teams have been failing a little bit. And when your backs are against the wall and you're down, can they find a team? Can they find a bit when they're down?
It's going to be a fascinating start to the round. Let's just fly through these guys. West Coast hosting Essendon. Just the margin and who you think wins?
Oh,
come on, quick one, boys. You're not wasting too much time.
There's
no way known.
I don't know. I don't know what's come over me, but there is. I don't know if it was a dream last night or just a feeling that I've had.
You just hate Essendon, don't you?
No, I don't hate Essendon. I despise them. The West Coast Eagles will be more than competitive in this game, and I'm giving them a chance.
How?
They get back to their home patch where they're a lot better. They were smacked on the weekend to the point of, can we look at this and be embarrassed? You probably should be. So that can turn around with some effort and some attitude. You tell me that Port Adelaide were going to beat Hawthorn 78-8 at one point in that game. How much would you?
But I would have said to you that midfield has them on toast once Day was out.
Talking about midfield, they've only got 2 players averaging over 20 touches.
Yeah, that's
23
fine.
and 21. They don't have the ball.
They learn a lesson on the weekend as to what happens if you just put the kids in the midfield. West Coast, they got smacked against Carlton. There's a little bit of a blueprint as to what not to do. They can turn it around. I expect them to be competitive, and if they do, young kids get on a roll, crowd gets involved, they win it by a kick or 2.
That's unbelievable.
I disagree.
That will not happen. That will not happen.
But no, look, I'd love to see it.
But there's just no way that Essendon are going to.
No way.
No.
No way.
Imagine the fun.
Mate, and this is going to clip up beautifully for when it doesn't happen. But if it does happen, I want this clipped up as well.
I got Essendon by 30.
Yeah, I'm for more. Essendon by 40 plus.
By the way, Merritt in Brownlow medal contention. No one's really talking about him.
been
And the D's, Freo, quick one.
D's.
You're going to take the D's at home.
Give them one last chance.
By the way, Freo's been here all week. They're enjoying their team bonding straight off at gather round.
Yeah.
They'll be fresh and
Dinner
ready.
tonight with Jager O'Meara.
No travel.
There you go. Freo for mine.
Yeah, Freo for mine, 1-39. I love that market, Daisy. Let's get to Daisy's must watch. This is a big game. And as I look at you, you have a little badge that I really like. It says the Giants are my second team.
Yep, I went and watched them on the weekend, commentated for Channel 7, did a couple of interviews pre-game. And the lovely media manager there came up and said, "Hey, would you wear this? They're doing
Sally come up to you?
A second team membership where you can go and buy." Because a lot of people are saying, "Hey, we like, I'm a Sydney fan, but the Giants, I love the Pies, but the Giants." So they've lent into that as their second team. So I'm all aboard that. this should be a cracking game of footy. Both teams with the ability to kick really big scores. We've seen Adelaide also give up some decent-sized scores as well. They got the 3 big boys up forward, and then the 4th if they play Curtin down there, which just means it's bloody hard to stop the ball going out. And I love the fact that you kick 20, we'll kick 21. It makes for good football. The Giants were just clinical. The Saints challenged early. They were clinical. The small brigade that they've got, Toby Green's a star. We know that. He's pick up and goal. Harvey Thomas and your boy Darcy Jones. Their speed and their footballing skills, IQ, nous to find the best option inside forward 50 is unbelievably good. Jesse Hogan's a star. And Kellen Ward is officially the toughest player to play the game since the early 2000s. He is honestly, he's as hard as a goat's knee. He is incredible.
Well, that was his nickname at the Dogs, Cement Head. Because he was that hard.
He didn't like that though, did he?
He didn't love that.
But he got folded up on the weekend. Like straight in the ribs, he was down. I was like, oh, geez, here we go. This is going to hurt.
He doesn't stay down for long normally.
And then all of a sudden he sort of went up and, stretched it out. I'm not sure you can stretch your ribs out because they're bones. He stretches them out and off he goes.
I asked him in the rooms, I said, mate, that was a big hit. He goes, yeah, that one hurt.
Mate, he loves it.
And then he just goes, yeah. And then I go, mate, you had 28 and kick 1. He goes, did I? I'm like, mate, you are on fire.
Good game, Giants win.
I know you mentioned fighting fire with the scoring prowess, but do you reckon there's a point in time where if they can't kick the goals and they can't maintain possession or hold it in there with their tools, is there a tipping point?
Yeah.
How far away are they from that tipping point? Because
I think at the moment you're happy with what you're seeing until it does continue to get away from you. So they'll have some different plans in place. Whether or not it is Curtin as a forward, he's going to, he can play wing, he can play halfback, he can play midfield. This kid's going to be an absolute superstar. They think, I should say, they'll change things up this week in the way they look because you can't just let the GWS Giants rebound, which is what they did so well on the weekend. Adelaide,
waves, running waves.
They get that tsunami going and then they're away.
Look at that, the Giants second team member over there just all over the tsunami. Well, I think even Geordie Dawson, who joined us at the Cumby, I said, well, it's a bit of an offensive game. We know Nixie loves his offense because he used to be a ball movement coach of the Giants, and he goes, nah, Nixie's actually obsessed with team defense at the moment. I said, oh boy, well, that isn't what we're kind of seeing.
Don't make that public, old Dawson.
Yeah. But that's what they're focusing on, that defense. They're just scoring really well, obviously, on turnover. This will be a cracker.
Giants are so good behind the footy. Yeah, they are. Like what
it's
they do.
It's a bad matchup for Adelaide when you look at Sam Taylor, Jack Buckley, Connor Iden can play tall or small, and they've got that help defense and they've got that rebounding backs.
That's the big one. Like how they're hard running mids to get back and support. Like they're going to be outnumbered in that.
Callahan does that
so well.
How hard he goes to get back and help defense.
They're a more explosive young man. They're playing midfield like him for a while.
There's very few superstars of the competition, which he's certainly on his track to get. He is the only one that works harder defensively than he does forward. And that's a
great habit, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a habit that not many of the best have.
I think there's a chance that the Giants have a big win and then they create the blueprint of how to beat Adelaide. I think they're in rare form, and I know Adelaide have had a couple of slip-ups now, but I just think with their midfield prowess and then that tall timber down there that I spoke of before, and with Adelaide, they're going to have trouble holding the ball in there. And then GWS are going to be able to take the ball, length of field and score, I reckon, too often.
Yeah. I've just changed my Propeller bet. We'll talk about it later.
Oh, no.
I'm convinced you. I am convinced.
Yeah, who'd you have, Phil Thorpe or someone?
Yeah, no, I'll tell you at the end, but I'm starting to feel more confident about what I was thinking earlier. The thing is, though, Adelaide, like if you think every single week, the big three, Tex, Phil Thorpe, and the big fog, they've kicked like 10 between them.
Yeah.
Now, you take Sam Taylor and Jack Buckley, they're not going to, I don't think they allow that. They don't allow key forwards to kick a bag. So Adelaide's going to have to find other ways of scoring. And I don't think, I personally, I'm going to have to see something new. Keezy's going to have to kick forward. Geordie Dawson might have to kick a couple. They're going to have to find other ways of scoring because I just can't see Sam Taylor allowing a big
I could
bag
see them
kicked
all
on him.
Kicking 2. So there's 6 goals head start. It's still a pretty handy proposition.
Mm-hmm. Well, you got down the other end though, and you got the Coleman, Toby Green, Cadman, Stringer, the small forwards you're talking about in these. This is going to be fun.
My must watch, but I think the Giants will win.
All right, well, I'll talk about my must watch quickly, but it's the Cats and Hawks, and it's Easter Monday, and it's the biggest game, I think one of the biggest games every year, and the two teams meeting each other at a perfect time. The Hawks flying, premiership favourites. All of a sudden, Port shock the world. They lose Day. He's out for 3 to 4 months, unfortunately. They now need to find themselves in the midfield, and they've just been touched up by Port. What I love was their response. They did have a crack. If they had another quarter, you could see the Hawks, they were coming from behind. They started to click into gear. Can they start well on Monday against the Cats? And then on the other side of things, the Cats, the way they played, the way they respond, the way they, Jesse Cameron was reasonably quiet in kick 4. He is a superstar. And they've just got all these other blokes like Paddy Dangerfield, who's kicking goals out of the goal square. Bailey Smith's now emerging off an ACL. What he's doing is incredible. We know we talked about his work rate. Tom Stewart was out last week with an illness, if he had food poisoning or gastro or whatever it is.
Pulled out a bit late.
No Stewart, and they did what they did. It's very impressive. They kind of meet up and, at this game, the bookies here at PointsBet, they've got Geelong on top. They say Geelong are favourites for this game at $1.85 and Hawks $1.95. This is a must watch. I don't really know where I'm leaning. I'm probably leaning towards Geelong just because of Stewart's back in and I think that midfield, but this will be a cracker. This will be one of the best we've seen for a long time.
This will be one of the bigger crowds too on a Easter Monday that you will have seen for a fair amount of time. I just think Hockballs, we've seen every side this year pretty much have a mulligan and then come out the next week and play really good footy. Hockball is now a brand within itself that we can trust, and they will take Geelong on, which again makes for an exciting contest. I love the way that the Cats are coached, so there'll be plans in place, and I think the Hawks will just be that young, brash side that we've seen. So it's, it'll be like that until the end, a close finish, but I see the Hawks with their nose down on the line.
It's funny because there was a couple of clips that Sam Mitchell went through on Monday night, I think, of some of the defensive 50 stoppages. And he was talking about goalkeepers, and there was 4 or 5 Hawks players in 3 different instances that were holding back, that were unsure, that weren't going in at the footy or doing anything. That was spare dicks. I don't know.
Yep.
Can't say that.
Spare dicks.
You can say that.
So I think that
just take the rollie off when you say that.
And get back to cattle class. If you're going to keep using this.
When you're flying cattle class, you can say that kind of stuff.
But they were having no influence. Now I think that's a team that's just not quite sure. Now we're so used to Hawthorn being so brash and, like you said, playing a hot ball and a style that just go out and get them. So they need to turn that around. Now they're allowed to have a blip because they're a young team, they're still developing. But I think if they can turn that around and learn that you've got to make a decision, you can't sit on the fence, you can't sit back, go forward, come forward to the ball. And they can turn that around, it's going to be a great game. Geelong, though, they're in rare form. I reckon that they're going to touch them up again. Without Will Day. Will Day's a massive.
He's a massive out.
But I just think
Atkins will sit on Newcombe.
They were 12-4 with him last year and 1-6 without.
Is that right?
Will Day.
There you go.
That's amazing.
He's literally the difference.
And
that was thanks to our good friends at
Newcombe.
StatMate as well.
Yeah, thank you, StatMate. That's a great little stat there from our friends. That's big.
That's massive.
Yeah. I didn't know that, but I'm glad that that's true. But I think his influence is so large. And then you talk about the stars of Geelong, who are, Holmes and Bailey Smith you mentioned before, and then Danger's work forward of the ball. I reckon they're just so potent at the minute. And, with that little blip last week, Hawthorn, I just don't think they'll bounce back quick enough.
Going to be a fascinating coaching battle as well.
It's going to be an unbelievable weekend of footy. There are games everywhere that you go, well, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, there are. There's plenty of them. I'll give you the tip. So who are you tipping? Geelong?
Well, give us the tip. You said you'd give us one.
I think I'm going to lean Geelong, and off the back of all the data, it kind of says that's a fair tip.
It is. I'm going with the Hawks.
I hope it's a kick after the siren, like they always
Massimo D'Ambrosio from 70 with a torp. Yes, please.
Anyone that that just loves, the team's up at half time and they just up and about saying we're home.
Yes, the ultimatums.
Well, guess what, boys? It's the NBA playoffs, and at PointsBet, you place a head-to-head bet on the Lakers versus Timberwolves this Sunday. If your team is up at halftime, you win. That's right, lead at the main break and they'll pay you out as a winner. Check your account for personalised max stake limits. PointsBet, built different. Max stake limits, T's and C's apply. That is what you want. You want to get on a team that starts well, and I'll be getting on the Lakers.
The Lakers are my side. I sat 2 rows back from courtside in 2007-8 when Kobe was still playing.
Yeah, wow, that's going back a little bit there.
He missed the match winner twice. Sat next to Nicky Hilton and Flea from the Chili Peppers was in front of us.
That's a setup and a half.
Boy, so go Lakers.
Shoulders,
Yeah.
This is when it heats. This is the real
Isn't it,
season.
isn't it a great time for sport, though, on this planet? We've had the Masters last week. We've had Gather Round. We've got the NBA playoffs coming. Look, for those sport lovers.
At least the NBA is a better time than the
You got the
freaking
stall
golf.
gift. You got the stall gift on Monday
Gout,
as well.
yeah, bloody dominating.
Gout's going to break the record.
Absolutely
McEnany.
nailing some of
Foley's
the-
gift documentary will be rolling out as
Hang on,
well.
sorry,
Give us a date.
when does it come out?
11 a.m. before the gift, I believe. 7, mate.
Jeez,
Foley's gift, a nice documentary there. So make sure you tune in.
Next week,
I had a little sneak peek. It's on 7 Plus already. Yeah,
I'm
it's
going
a
to do
condensed version.
5-minute review next week on the movie.
Give us a 2-minute review.
No,
max.
we'll put it for an extended package.
It's I have to rock the sideburns. It's hard to watch myself with the
Have you got
sideburns.
an NBA team, though?
Yeah, I want to watch LeBron and Luka go all the way. I'd love to see Celtics v Lakers and that old school, rivalry, and just that'd be amazing. And it would be box office stuff.
It would be box office.
I'm a bit disappointed that the Ant-Man from Timberwolves is playing the Lakers in that first matchup because I like both of them, but this is enjoyable. And I must say, as a punter, I love having a same game multi of NBA into AFL. You just have this weekend will be really enjoyable. So as we said, make sure you check out that little special.
You've always got one mate who's a real sicko. Paul Medhurst used to, on games of basketball that he didn't really have a vested interest in, he'd put a wager on the total points being odd or even at the end of the game.
Oh, that was his bet.
That was his bet. So you had to watch till the end. And you're cheering for
That's
scores
pretty
rather
much
than
like
a team.
over, under, head to head. He's going,
yeah.
I'm going odds or even.
Odds are even, but it's the very last play that comes down to.
Isn't it amazing, though, when those players
That's
they
incredible.
need a rebound or they need a point or
Yeah.
something, and the last 10 seconds of the game would go and force something, and then it just blows out all those line markets.
Well, I've got one right now. I don't know the scores, but I've got Steph Curry there just waiting. They're up at 12 at halftime. That's nice. All right, that's
We
enough
digress.
NBA.
We
It's time
pivot.
for one of our favourite segments, boys. It is time for the Profit Propeller, and we have a brand new team on the Propeller. So if you're listening, it'd be your team is still on there. We should probably go around and do a little update. So I'd like to go through. We've still got Aquinas Old Collegians, the Greenvale Jets. We have Rokewood Coronap. We have Chadstone Footy Club. We have Knox Football Club, Port Melbourne Colt, Riddles Creek Football Club, Marupna. Who's that bottom one there? Newborough. I can't see the ones upside down.
Glenora,
Keep going.
Griffins.
Moorabbin,
Tommy, my
Kangaroos.
neck's getting sore.
Turnside.
Port Arlington. Anyway, you get the gist. I just thought we'd go over it. And this week, the new team, little noise, is going to be North Footscray Football Netball Club.
Footscray.
Congratulations. You guys are just up the road from our friends at Sunshine. I wonder if they're friends. All right, boys.
I wondered too, Tommy.
I haven't wondered once, and I will not wonder ever again.
Fuck, you're not allowed to say. You're not allowed to say that on the pod.
No, you can say whatever you want. It's your
Jeez, it's
pod.
time to really wrap this show up.
Mate, he's
But,
fatigued. It's
he's
been a big-
fatigued.
it's been a
Fatigued.
big
Gather round is catching
got
up
him,
to me.
mate.
I'm all right. One of you have to spin it. I need to witness this. So
I'll
while
hold it and you can spin it.
okay, just make sure you're out the road. Now on your marks, here we go. The propeller is about to go in 3, 2, 1. Here we go. The propeller's off. It's spinning. This week's winner is going to be Chadstone Football Club. Here we go. The Chadstone Football Club. Great shopping centre, mind you. Might have to head out there and get a fresh kit for this weekend while we're thinking
I'm
about
not
it.
sure if they're mates with Sunshine.
No friends.
There's a real horrific work there for myself. But Chadstone Football Club, that's big, boys. I reckon they've been on there for a while. So the Chatty boys,
Big.
The
But what's
Demons.
bigger is
our
our
propellers.
bets.
We need to lift.
We do need to lift. We don't
And
even need to
I
lift.
will
We need
call
something.
I will call the representative / president after the podcast because the last 6 weeks we've done this. They haven't answered and it's stalled the pod. So we'll do it. We will do it after the show because I'm sick of wasting time.
Lifting the curtain.
All right, lads. What are you going to lock in for round 6 AFL Profit Propeller?
Here we go. So I'm heading west.
Yep.
West Coast are hosting Essendon. It's going to be a blowout win for Essendon. We know that. They're going to have a lot of ball. And my man, Sammy Draper, he's going to drift forward. He's going to take some big clunks, kick 2 goals. It's
like
paying
it.
$2.10.
I'm feeling it well.
There's been a lot of chat about the way he set up the goals. He's snapping from all over the arc and all over in the inside 50, but he's been really good at converting them. He's going to get it done. It's going to be a big win. I'm going to play my part and get my leg, my
like
second for the year.
I like it.
Daisy to you.
Here we go, Days.
Just trying to do some numbers on how many times Draper's kicked 2 or more.
What's he done?
Oh, boy. Good luck with that one.
He's West Coast.
He's kicked 1 goal at Perth Stadium. Anyway, we can move past that pretty quickly, and we will
He's
hope
already
and I think West Coast are winning, but that doesn't hurt your result. I'm going to the Sydney-Port Adelaide game. The Swans get back on their home deck. They would have gone through that review with a fine-tooth comb. They were shithouse. They will respond, and I'm going to take them 1-39 to beat Port Adelaide. That gets you an even $2.
I like it. I'm going to keep it a little bit more simple this week. I'm sick of the goal scorers kicking 1 goal 2 when I put them down 4-2. So, a little hiccup there from the train. It has been a big weekend. I will go the GWS Giants to get it done on the road at Adelaide Oval at 4:15. I think at $2 head-to-head
Good bet.
is the best value we'll get for a side like the GWS Giants. I'm going to hang my hat on them. I back them in. I think the defenders can look after a couple of those key forwards. And I'm going to back the Giants in on the road. If they're going to win the flag this year, like we tipped at the start of the year, they need to win this game. And at $2 from PointsBet, I'm going to eat that up and whack it on the Propeller board.
Like it.
Love the intensity. This is great.
Now we need to wait for that 4th leg from our friends at Coast Football Club. And we'll see what they lock in. I hope they pick the late game. I'm thinking a little, it'd be nice to see.
Maybe if they go the Monday game.
The Monday game would be perfect, just so we have all
from
weekend.
3.
It'd be good to just sit back Monday and watch the Propeller go off. So, boys, fantastic show. Well, great to have you back in the studio,
well done,
mate.
Good to see you.
And you're looking just, you even said, I go, how was China? He goes, it was great.
Is that like Saturn on Saturn?
No, this is a Hugo Boss number.
Hugo Boss. Did you rock the Hugo Boss down the back of the bus?
Yeah, I did actually.
Did you wear a collar on the plane?
I did go up and ask to get upgraded. Had me jacket on, had me nice RM Williams.
Just walked up and said, hang on a minute. Front of the plane, thanks.
But the plane was full, mate. The plane was full. And then I had to bend the bloody jacket into my suitcase, which is no good. But we live and we learn. Never again.
We do live and we learn. And we hope the big man Draper can kick 2. The Swannies 1-39 and the Giants get it done on the road. That's all we've got. Congratulations to Chadstone Football Club. I'll be in contact with you. And to everyone that tunes in every single week, thank you. Hit subscribe, hit like, share this podcast with a mate. We'll see you same time next week right here on Ausmerican Aces.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.